Hi, and welcome to the Spoken Word with Raz. Today we have some pretty interesting topics, but with me we have my wonderful girlfriend, and say it louder.
Hi.
There we go.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, scream more.
Ah! Keep going. I'm not stopping you.
We have the queen herself, Morgan,
Wagwan.
the
Is that
best
English?
doggo. Huh?
Is that English?
We'll explain later.
Uh,
The best doggo,
Hello, people.
and the old grumpy man.
Get off my lawn!
It's nice seeing the whole crew together today. Sorry about last week. A lot of things. Real life is still coming up and everything like that, and getting this all organized is still a little bit of a challenge. But
A little bit?
hey, it's fine. It's
Yeah?
fine.
Sure?
It's fine.
Uh-huh.
It's fine. Anyways, how have you all been?
I'm a little tired and I'm a little wired.
I'm having some phone issues. 1 second.
Surviving.
Uh,
Oh, it's all good. How about you? How you been?
I was pretty sick last night for some reason, but I'm doing better now. I think I'm okay.
Wow, such confidence.
I think.
The possibility.
Uh-huh.
Well, we're alive. I am still in great pain. I started work.
Please tell us all about it because I'm dying to hear.
Oh, uh, I guess I'll get a little bit into the topic tonight. Well, I do have some assistants at work. Working with a lot of young people. I really like most of them, everything like that. Uh, I'm conflicted about a few things. Uh, with work there. Um, but overall, I mean, I think it's fine. All I do is take money from the customers, some sweeping and mopping. But I do what I can. But
well,
yeah,
the main question would be how many people have you wanted to kill so far?
nobody.
It's the service industry. You must have wanted to kill at least one person.
Yeah,
It will come.
I mean, Alexis.
All in good time.
I haven't actually worked with her.
Oh, yeah, you haven't.
I mean, she was there, but I didn't. Baby, everyone abandoned me at that back window. I didn't see anyone for a while.
That seems like a good reason to want to kill people.
Well, but here's the thing. I think a good. Funny enough, this is going to lead into the whole topic, I guess. I don't know. I've had such a mindset change in the way that, like, even with the customers, even ones that would be mad at me or anything, because, we're still kind of short staffed and everything like that, and wait times are kind of bad, and I, I don't know. I've been able to disarm most people, and I do pretty good. It's my charming personality that somehow exists now. And that leads me to the major topic of today, which is I truly am a different person than I was. And I like doing this job and being around other people and everything like that is I'm confused at a level that a lot of people would find weird that I'm confused by it. uh
As someone
Yeah.
who's known you for a very long time so far, this seems like pretty standard operating procedure.
That's fair. That's fair.
The only constant is change.
Uh, well, the biggest thing has been people wanting me around and legitimately my company and everything. Like I have you guys, but you're all oddballs,
I will never
Hey,
deny that accusation.
I was
I
going to say,
only
takes
have
one to know
two.
one.
right?
I only have two. Not three, not one, two.
If you have two, then they're even, not odd.
Exactly. See, Happy gets it. He knows what I'm saying. Now, Screwball, yeah, I'll admit to that one.
Right. Um. Yeah. So this one might be a for conversation overall because I think it because what I want to talk about tonight is going to play a lot into stuff we talk about in the podcast in general because for me anecdotally it's just kind of interesting. Um so I'll talk about the biggest thing that happened. Um I realized I don't hate myself anymore.
It was very hard for him to understand that. Well, at least admit it vocally.
Yes. I don't know when I stopped hating myself. It just kind of realized that I didn't hate myself anymore. Uh, I I can hear his voice in my head. Wow. Uh, but no, seriously, like this was for me a big development because uh it's not hating myself, and this is where it gets into the ball part of it, right? Where confusion starts setting. Unlike when I was depressed, where I felt like something was wrong or something, it was just kind of something that that was more of like an old friend leaving, right? Not hating myself or all the negative things that those were the things that drove and to be different. It made up such a large portion of my life for so long. It legitimately felt like I lost a part of myself. That part of me was just gone. And not that I miss it or anything like that. It's just
It's something you lived for so long.
kind of, or it's more deep and primal than that. This was my drive to be different. My past, all that anger, hatred. I fueled that into positive, all that negative emotion, positive. Does that make sense to you guys?
It does. So are you trying to
Yeah,
say that you're now lacking that motivation because you're not hating on yourself? Or is it now just manifested and evolved into a different type of motivation?
It's changed. Like it just took me a bit to realize that. It just the initial shock of it was scary. I won't lie to anyone. Initial shock was scary. But no, actually, I just figured out, yeah, like it's changed. Like what I realized, I no longer needed that negative, and I don't need that past or those feelings continue changing and growing. Um, I have replaced a need, a want of mine with a purpose. I found purpose after going through all the shit I've gone through, all the hell I've been to get to this. Um, and funny enough, it I think I've talked about it in normal calls with people that like what ultimately caused this revelation was a quote, a dumb quote. Not even a dumb quote. I actually really like it, but it was a quote. Um, and again, I'm probably getting this wrong, but I think it was Plato. But basically, Plato said, who you are is what you do over again, right? These actions that you hit yourself and replicate, right?
Yeah.
And again, that quote is not necessarily in a positive or a negative. It's just a statement of, you know, you are what you do, right?
Yeah.
Where actions speak louder than words. Unless words are your forte, which
A combination of actions being the words.
right?
I think I confused myself then.
But I think what it is that even though talking is my like forte, I do I do action. Um, and I just had a few revelations this thing that just makes so going back to who I was a few years ago, just specifically what made me go on the route. One of the things I don't talk a lot about is when I decided to be better for myself and the actions I took. I won't lie to anyone. I did not give a fuck about anyone. I did them because I wanted to change more myself. This is where my mindset of I don't do things for other like I do things for my benefit. That is Carl Jung. That is not the
Calm down, you tit.
Oh, Aristotle. That's another one. Yeah, there we go. Aristotle. That's who said it. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. There we go.
Yep. I knew I'd seen it somewhere.
I could only hear a paraphrase of it. So but yeah, what I was like was back then I I couldn't bring myself to care about other people or stuff like that. But it created my need better created a mindset where I can do things for myself, but does not have to harm or and can actually benefit others. Right? That's where it came from. That's where that whole mindset came. I did not give a shit at all about other people. You can ask Happy. I was in a dark place at that time. And I had to choose to be that way. Because
Yep.
I had a martyr complex. I did. I would help other people. I would and not be so I had to trick my mind in a lot of ways also from my natural state of just wanting to be helpful. I wanted to be and these always led me down the wrong directions. So I decided to be purely selfish. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well,
Not having ever been like that, I'm not. I'm like, yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. So talk from your viewpoint of hearing that. What this is the part that always fascinates me with the other people, and this is why I say this. It's an alien thought to you, right? What is your thoughts? How does it counteract against what you think?
I mean, I can understand how, or at least why you were like that, but it's not something that I've ever felt even remotely.
That's fair.
That said, I am a dog, so
Right. Loyal to the end.
I,
What about
Uh,
you,
well,
Morgan?
I was just going to say, I mean, like I'm a self-proclaimed narcissist. Like, I'm, I'm somebody who understands that, and I enjoy my own company. So, selfish is something that I've always been capable of doing. It's just that it's easy to lose it sometimes. I understand the idea of lose yourself in doing shit for other people because it's easy to do, but you do have to put yourself first. So I understand that, but I also see that it's taken you full circle. Like you've gone from being somebody who didn't want to be around everyone and then built something for yourself by being selfish and then came around to being back involved with everybody else again. So
But
it was a
oh,
process you had to go through.
but you have to remember, I'm still selfish. I meddle in people's lives. Your problems are challenges for me. I know people like again, it makes me sound terrible, but I don't care. I love this. I love doing the things I do. I love the people who are mine now. I am taking greed to the full extent. My actions, like again, I don't care about money. I don't care about again, I didn't even care about my own ego at all for so long that like I said, this is why like when I spend money on somebody or I give a gift, it's not because I think money has value. It is the time and things that I do for somebody. That it's me giving something of myself to somebody. That be it my time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's completely for a selfish act because again, I'm putting 110% of myself in this for for not even equal compensation. I just like your friendship. But I'll never hurt myself for that friendship either. You know what I mean? I
Oh
won't
yeah.
cause harm to myself. So what do you think of that, Morgan?
Uh-oh.
I think we lost him for a minute. What are your thoughts, Taranach? While we wait for her to come back.
Um, I can see both sides to it, and I don't necessarily find it to be that unusual because I think that is really something that everybody faces quite often. The the overall idea of self-loathing and stuff. I mean, we see it popping up all over the place where everybody wants to be like accepted, and so they hate who they are or what they are, and they will go to great extremes sometimes to get away from that or to latch on to some idea that maybe really isn't them, but it gives them kind of like a security blanket.
Yeah.
And part of that too, um, I actually popped a thing there. There was a book that I read a while back by Robert Ringer called "Looking Out for Number One," and it kind of sort of fits in here. The Now that I'm thinking about it, in that we're always our own worst critics. You know, you're horrible, you're bad, you're blah 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 blah, and to the point where we do hate ourselves, and we'll even surround ourselves with people that exacerbate those feelings sometimes. Either they're preying upon us or using us or whatever. And I think many people have said roughly the same thing, but you have to come to terms with yourself and kind of love yourself almost before you can go out and share that love with others.
I have a
Because
saying for this one.
if
I have a saying for this actually. How am I
uh,
any good to you if I don't take care of myself? If I'm not able to take
exactly,
care of myself, how am I any use? If I
yeah,
go out and break myself down, and again, this is how I put it. I went out and broke myself and destroyed myself for other people. And eventually that I become used. That will make me more in the long run,
Well,
in my opinion.
well, there is a point to that, but then again, there's military service.
Right?
When you go in there, the whole idea of boot camp is kind of sort of to plant a boot in your butt, but
Yeah.
it's also the same thing. It's to break you down. It's to shatter the comfortable web that you've put around yourself, basically tear you down to the, individual constituent components of who you are, what makes you you, and then helping with rebuilding them. So, you get things like more confidence. Um, and I mean, yeah, there's the, following directions and rules and stuff like that
Yeah.
goes along with it because of the service. But overall, the self-reliance, the trusting of others that are in your peer group, and you are very, very dependent upon to survive
Yeah.
in a bad situation such as conflicts. So, I mean, the breakdown of self is not entirely a bad thing. It sounds like it in a way, but it's kind of like when you put a puzzle together. You sit there and you put all these things, and then you're getting toward the end. You realize, oh my gosh, I got this all messed up. You're going to have to tear it apart just to be able to rebuild it so that it's right.
Yep.
So maybe there's that element of truth to it.
Well,
I mean, I was always going to say, that, it's the mentality of, yes, be your harshest critic. Like, yes, you are your harshest critic, and embrace that, because at the end of the day, no one can put you down if they're only telling you things that you are well aware of. Like, if you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, but if you're aware of your weaknesses, it makes taking criticism easier, because you're sort of like, yeah, I know that's something that I need to work on, as opposed to it's not a shock to you if someone then turns around and says something, because who can be more mean than you to yourself.
Yep.
the funny part, the reason that I connect so well to most people here, though, is that you all do. Some of you gone through it, but you guys are like just kind of like me, nowhere near my level of it. But you have a hard time seeing the good in you, or seeing the positive, the actual one. It's true. I it, you do, and sadly, I do realize that this is what this past year has done for. I can't self-realize very easily. I don't know my personality, the positives of my personality. I have to rely on others to point them out. And eventually, I just accept them as truth because scientific method, right?
Yeah.
I'm the same. I don't notice a lot of things I do, how I act, until someone says, "Oh, yes, that thing that you do," or "Oh, yeah, this that you say," or "You're like this," and then I just think, and I'm like, "Wait, what? That's a thing." I never know until someone points it out. And if enough people point it out, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I do that." Like originally, when he first met me, something that a lot of people say was, "I would eat my food like a ham."
I can
Yeah,
believe that.
you are getting a mental image. I know you are. That's how
I
I
can
ate.
believe that.
Unfortunately, it kind of relates to something that was said by Ash earlier.
Sorry,
I don't know
that
what you're talking
fucking
about.
killed me.
Yeah.
I know this is supposed to be a serious conversation, but I thought I'd throw something.
I've just got immediate mental image in it. Sorry, my
Here's the
Muttley
thing.
laugh is yeah,
It
okay.
wasn't just
Back in the room.
sandwiches. It wasn't even just sandwiches and stuff I would eat. Like, I would eat things that I shouldn't have to use two hands for. with 2 hands.
I would eat it, watch it, because
Yeah,
she doesn't do any
easier
sauces.
for you. That's where
Oh.
you stuff your cheeks.
You don't understand. I put it more like so like she can eat like a hamster, eat like a bird, or eat like a rabbit. I watched her eat salad, and she doesn't eat salad with forks, like when I was met her, because she doesn't get any sauces. So she just takes them and just kind of nibbled on them into her mouth like a fucking rabbit.
Well, I have to admit, I've done that.
Yeah, but
That was her norm.
Yeah, and then for the bird part, I would pick at things. Like, a meal for me was something I would just slowly snack on for like an hour. I would eat an orange for an hour.
I
Guilty.
cannot relate.
you are a weirdo. That is weird to me. I see food, I inhale it.
Not like that anymore.
That I
She's
can
not
relate
like
for.
that. She's not like that anymore. Since she's been with me and got away from their bad influence. 'Cause she wasn't eating very much either. So like her like now like since she's been with me, like there are times when when we'll get something and she'll finish the burger way before me.
Because
Yeah.
She still doesn't eat a ton, but she eats a lot more than what she used to eat, and now looking a lot better. We've all been talking about it, how much healthier she is now.
Yeah. And that ties into our topic about
Yeah.
see my jokes work.
um no, and I actually agree with a lot of the stuff. And Morgan, kind of funny about embracing your thing, both what you and Taranach. Yeah, I had to tear myself down. I feel like when you have to tear yourself down, is that um is because is partly you get comfortable or you get used to something negative or positive.
Mm.
And sometimes you have to burn back to zero and rebuild your ideas.
Indeed.
Yes, I've gotten a lot better at taking compliments. Okay, okay.
To be
But
determined.
no,
Yeah.
I actually got a compliment though.
He is starting to. The one that the compliments he was getting, he was like, okay, okay. And then someone called him handsome, and he was like, no, stop lying to me.
She also called me charismatic and funny, and I still haven't figured that one out.
She also called you dope.
Also, that's old. I haven't heard anyone say that.
What's dope? I say it all the time.
We're old.
Oh, don't say that. I remember my dad saying things like magic and just thinking like, oh my god, what planet did you come from? Oh, that's magic, that is. And I'd be like, who are you? You weirdo. And now I think, yeah, now I'm that person.
Right?
No, but what's funny is she's only 20.
Yeah.
Who's
I
21?
mean,
Who's
The one
21?
that said
Who's...
the one that said
The
this.
the one that called me handsome and
Sorry,
all that.
no. That's the song that we used to sing when it was that we were behind the bar and someone come up and say it was their 21st birthday. We'd sing that song and then
Oh,
pour them shots.
Oh,
Dave. Oh man.
Well, you know, I mean, if you want to look at it, there is such a thing called the handsome cab. I mean, you ought to probably know about it because I think it was more of a British thing than anything else.
The what?
The handsome cabs.
Handsome cabs, no?
Oh my God! Don't tell me I'm the only one that knows about them.
Probably. I might know a lot of history, but there's only so much that I can learn.
Hey, shut up, you young whippersnappers!
Oh.
oh,
Well, I think I've come to the conclusion is that I have hit a level of how I put it is it's just the same thing as when I figured out I didn't hate myself, is that I now have some confidence and personality, like because that's the biggest thing. All the things that I used to hate it for, and I know it's a personality thing, like how my thought process back then was a big part of why people hated me for talking all the time, or for the way that I was. All those things I still do, but now everyone likes me for. But it's just a change in personality and in charisma and confidence. I
Yes, maybe the people as well changing. Like, you're hanging around with better people, maybe.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think that should make up most of the people I've known in life. Just
No,
saying.
but still, like there are a lot of dickheads out there. Let's be
There are.
honest.
There are. But I do think a big part of it is just the change. It is the change in my
Yeah,
person. Like again, without the confidence and everything like that, I am shameless. I have a lot of fun. I smile a lot now. Um, I'm introspective. I genuinely. I guess like the one thing I've said is I just genuinely treat people like people.
you take genuine interest in people as well. That's one of the biggest things that people like. When it comes down to the psychology of stuff, like we're all completely self-involved idiots. Like the more you take interest in other people, the more they take interest in you. It's such a stupidly basic thing, but actually like taking an interest. How are you today? So it's such a small thing that so many people just don't bother saying to one another, acquaintances, and that's how they don't progress past that point. And I think that when you do start taking a genuine interest in people, like but no, how is your day? How are you? Like, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, hi, hi, and they start being a little bit more receptive to you. So when you say like a year ago or so many years ago, well, when you were in your bad place, like and you just didn't have time for other people, like that's a change in you that will make a change in how you're perceived.
Yeah. Well, I think the important thing that I do to people is I don't just say "How are you?" I go, "Hey, seriously, how are you doing? Don't look happy," or like I'm very, very observant of people's faces and how they sound.
Mm.
Like that's another thing. Is it's not just taking interest, saying "How are you?" It is that genuine. Hey, how are you actually
Yeah,
doing?
that's what I
You know?
mean. But like not just like, hey, how you doing, sort of thing. Like the
Yeah,
actual stop and be like the taking the genuine interest. Actually, like no, stop for a second. I
yeah.
want to know how your day is. Talk to me, sort of thing. A lot of people just don't do it anymore. Like I think social, I blame it for everything, but social media, where what everyone's doing all the time. If you're on something like Facebook or Twitter, that is people constantly update you with what they're doing in your lives, and you just don't ask them anymore. Like because half the time. Oh yeah, I saw you went here last week. I saw you did this the other day. Like, it's been my biggest joy of coming away from it is that I don't know what people have been doing.
Hey, it's why I don't use social media at all.
Yeah, I know.
This is it, and even here when we leave little updates, they're vague enough that they don't actually infer anything.
Yeah,
uh, Leaving room to actually talk and but
have
even
conversations.
even when somebody posts something like that, I always have more questions to ask because that doesn't really tell me anything. When people update their lives all the time, but it doesn't say anything. You know, like I've stopped even if I see a comment or a message or something like that. Like my inquisitive nature just pops in and being like, "Oh, what exactly did you do? What was the things? Anything exciting?" You know?
See, and this is you put nailed the crux of it there. It's like that's one of my big harshest criticisms of myself is I talk a lot, but I don't say much. That's the thing. There's a lot of words flying around, but not a lot of substance to it.
I don't know. With me and Ashley, you seem to be very,
Yeah,
very.
well, yeah, I know, but that's probably just me being horrible to myself. But that's what I mean in general terms of the communication nowadays. People say a lot, talk a lot, but they don't say much to one another, you know?
Yeah. Yep. No, I get it. What about you, Taranach? What's your thoughts?
Um, I don't know. I kind of pretty much agree. There's a lot of sound, but not much substance sometimes, and there's uh, a general reticence, that a general reluctance. We'll put it that way. To express much anymore, because I think part of it's a societal type thing as well, because it was, express yourself, tell us how, how you really are, be unique. And now that those very things that, it used to be good to talk about your uniqueness and your own thoughts. And with the way that things are going, it's almost dangerous to do that, because people will hunt things down for that you did 15 years ago, 20
Yep.
years ago.
Well, it's
And
not so much. I would say that you can still be unique as long as you're the right kind of unique.
yeah, well, they can.
Hold on. Then you're not unique.
That's
That
exactly the point. That is
yeah.
exactly the point. But that's the
Yeah.
message. It's the double think that's going on right now.
You know, I have this whole thing. I personally don't find, there's this whole thing. If everybody's special, then nobody's special, and the reality of that comment is that when everyone wants to be special in the way that society sees, it's actually why I like Carl Jung so much. One of I love the statement that the universe doesn't matter what you believe or anything like that, but the idea is that when you're born, you are born with all the possibilities, right? That you can be anything, and then the society kind of and the people around you conform to the ideas, right? They want
Yeah,
you to conform. If you truly want to be special or unique, then you have to put in the work of finding out who you actually are. Learn a little rebellion in certain ways. Like one of the things I've told people is like, I'll go to my job and do my job and everything like that, but I'm going to do it for me. I'm not going to conform to the people around me. You know, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do my own excellence.
Yep.
And the positive of that mindset change. And again, I think I do. Maybe, maybe I am unique. I don't fucking know. I don't care either. But I do honestly believe working and can really do this. I don't are as dumb as I find more people lazy than dumb. I ignore the IQ
truth.
thing. No, I do. I ignore the IQ thing and all that stuff like that because I have been proven wrong more times about people when they're actually challenged, capable of growing.
Well,
You know?
very much so. I mean, IQ was never a how smart are you? It was always a case of potential. Do you have the potential to figure things out that you don't know? So, it isn't how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
It's
It's
your problem solving abilities.
right. And so it's going leaning back toward the potential of you can be everything until you whittle it down, through each decision and what you decide to conform with, that narrows down the what you can be. And the whole idea about intelligence. And I mean, I've seen things as like, well, why are you doing that? You know, I've seen things like, why are you acting that way? Why are you acting, um, well, like white? Why are you acting white? As if it's some kind of uh, a blasphemous insult.
Yeah.
And it's like, um, the 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 whole idea is not to be, um shoot, I'm not even sure how to quite
You know,
express this, but
if you don't mind, let me take this back because it reminds me, and I think big part of the whole "stop being white" thing goes back to I remember in this is all history, but like I remember a big thing in the 2000s, me growing up. Why are you wanting to be black? Rap, all this other stuff. I'm wondering if it isn't a response to that negative stereotype.
well, I mean, the
Where
way that they've been pushing it lately, I don't really see it as such. It's
I'm not saying it's sensical or rational. I'm just saying that that might be part of the thing for my generation. Why
well, I
they
mean,
can accept that whole thing because again, black culture, at least with rap and everything like that, has become the norm.
well, and I think part of that is a variation of the whole rebellion thing. Each generation has faced rebellion in different ways. The greasers back in the 50s, the hippies through the 60s and part of the 70s, the disco thing through the 70s and into 80s. Then it was, the big hair thing. I mean,
Yeah, you had metal,
there's
different forms of metal. You had
Punk rock.
punk. You had punk.
Yeah, I was going
You know,
well,
You
yeah,
can't
uh,
go through the 80s and rebellions and not talk about punk.
it was like everybody was both trying to rebel against what was current, but everybody was doing it, and so what was rebellious was became conformist.
yeah,
And so, you had to find a new thing to go to. And fascinating enough, I mean, I have seen people that get stuck. Uh, Gallagher used to do a thing called "I'm Still Stuck in the '60s" because a lot of these mannerisms and ways of looking at things are much stronger or more like a '60s perspective.
right.
And so, um, people will get stuck into those mindsets of a certain way of looking at things and thinking about things, and some of them won't break out.
Yeah,
And it's not necessarily that it's a good thing or a bad thing. And I mean, there's positives and negatives
yeah,
for both sides of it. Um, the very idea and the very thing that has made the human race able to survive for thousands of years has been adaptability. Yes, we prefer things to be nice and smooth and, you know, uh, constant,
right.
avoiding change. And yet, change is going to happen all around us. And the ones who are most adaptable, most flexible to uh, going with actual good ideas, new ideas, and adapt to them, those are the ones that are going to excel.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was actually explaining to somebody, kind of in my own way and everything about, like for me, is I want to be flexible. I want to have a flexible mind, but I have certain things that I want to be strict on. It's fine. It's that whole thing. You have to find something to stand. That you have to find ideals to stand for. But everything
Oh,
else is flexible. That you need to consider different things. You know,
yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna deny that either. And that's a very strong portion because there are certain traits and truisms that transcend the whole, ideology. I mean, a truism is don't kill other people.
right?
Okay. That is a truism because when you kill other people, then bad things are gonna generally happen to you
All right,
eventually.
right.
And
Well,
so
yeah. Go on.
well, and so I mean, things that are truisms that last throughout generations and centuries and stuff like that. They may modify things, but the base idea is still the same. It's when you start rejecting all of it because of a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't like this thing, I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and all of a sudden you lose critical portions of society and uh, rationality.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, talking about that specific reason I brought up the flexible mind planning perspective, that my own ideology that I have built at this point, um, is just a remix of everything that comes from the past. And it doesn't have like one specific source. And I realize that the people that I stand for, with the most, that I agree, the people that I look up to are the same way. It's like, you don't have one idea. Like to me, I've said this multiple times. I feel like Carl Jung, Nietzsche, and all these people are and I think this is the norm of society. They're incomplete philosophies that were. This is why you should gather as much knowledge, gather as much different things, because there are bits and pieces, or even large portions of them that can be that they don't go against each other, or they're incomplete, and it's up to each individual to figure out where they stand on those things. So all my inspirations are many philosophers all through different ages, even the ones that disagreed with each other, because they all had something to provide to better us, right?
Well, yeah, and aside from the fact that they in themselves would not exist without each other, each one has built on the work of every philosopher that's come before them. Like, they are scholars and teachers in themselves. That's why philosophy is such a fluid sort of topic to cover, which is why you need to take them all in, because some of them that they can't disagree with each other without taking into account each other's work. So unless you're going to take into account the work of all of the bigger, like the great philosophers out there, you can't really understand or get a good comprehension of it. It's just such a massive topic to take in.
Yep.
It's kind of funny. It was actually Nietzsche himself, his work, when I started reading it over the last couple of years, that actually is what formulated my whole defense against nihilism. You know, even
Okay.
though people are hardcore with him. Well, it's because I've taken on a concept of human arrogance, for a personal and for like idea. His whole thing about God being dead, and you have to read many of his work, stuff like that, and you have your hardcore fans, but he works perfectly. Like honestly, I've gotten to the point where I actually think I like Nietzsche, but I only like Nietzsche because Carl Jung and other people exist to provide other answers that work in conjunction with his thought. We're only human, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, if the universe does not care, if the heavens will fight against me, if life will keep throwing things in the way and keep bashing me, and I am this one tiny person, then I will fucking fight. I will carve my name. I will make myself important. If anything else than to myself, I will leave not my name, but my influence on this, you know?
Profound.
I mean, you technically already did.
That's true. But that comes with the caveat of also, but for me, that mindset can be dangerous out and again, I have three parts to this. I have human exceptionalism. We are capable of great and terrible things. Different thing, can have like compassion. We are capable of great compassion. We're capable of great destruction as both individuals and as a right.
Right.
Both of those are necessary. But you need to understand both. Then you have to temper it with a strong moral code, a strong ethical code, and a sense of self.
Right.
What do you guys think? That you guys just heard my whole philosophy. Those three things.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it all works. It's just putting it into action, isn't it?
Yep.
Therein lies the rub.
But anything worth doing isn't
God
anything.
damn it.
Anything that leads to a fulfilling life requires dedication and challenges. The point of human arrogance is any challenge that comes before you, you will overcome it, or you will find a way to sidestep it. Right?
Yeah, it is right.
Or you'll cry about it on Twitter.
You might do that too. Hey, I bitch all the time. I make no like I'm not one of those people who's like, I'm just gonna pull up my britches and deal with it. No, I'm gonna bitch first, then pull up my britches and
Oh,
Well,
and he
Why
makes
not
sure you
both
know
at the
he's
same
bitching.
time?
but
exactly.
see, that's the thing though. You do the second part and then go do something about it.
Yeah.
Those people, all they do is bitch, 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 bitch. It's
And
like
then create
broken
nothing.
record.
And then create nothing.
They don't
Yeah.
do anything, and if it wasn't for some incredibly inane foolishness, they wouldn't get anywhere. They wouldn't bear any traction. I kind of still wonder how they managed to keep getting so much traction that, corporations that are like the epitome of um give me everything that you can for as little as expenditure as possible. And they're buying into this stupidity.
Well, I
And
mean, oh, go ahead.
well, I find that amazing.
I don't. I think I kind of started getting a clear view of why this keeps happening. And it's a lot more basic than you think. Again, what is our society have been building towards with the young, and look at the people, companies, stuff like that. People don't like being hated. People don't. People think. One of the things I hear a lot. What can I do? There's not, again, isn't this why people still don't speak up against cancel culture for the most part? And it's only because people are getting so angry that we're finally seeing a backlash. The thing is, these things are basic human things. Society has changed. People don't. Again, we had a whole group of people in Britain for grooming people, grooming children for years, and the only reason they weren't arrested because the officers then called sexist,
Racist.
Yeah,
racist.
I
That's
was
it.
going to say
Racist. I'm sorry,
it's
my problem.
it's an Islamic thing up north.
Yep.
It's a huge problem in the north, which I didn't really understand until I lived up there for a little bit, and then you sort of like start hearing things, and you get warnings like, you know,
But
you don't
you
want to.
know,
It's not sort of places you want to be walking around on your own when you're a young female. Sort of thing,
right?
because it was really rife, and it wasn't just it wasn't just young children, it was anyone they could basically get their hands on, all kinds of weird slavery rings and stuff like that. But you had loads of people, they don't want to touch it because there's a huge Islamophobia thing in the UK, so nobody wants to touch it, which is why obviously the whole Tommy Robinson where he we've discussed that story before, the outrageousness of the logic behind where the justice lies in this country, but
All
that's
right.
a story for a different day.
And again, I'm not done. And so, like, yeah, that's just one part of it. Then when you have giant corporations like this, you have a lot of different bases. They've hired people, companies that believe in crazy stuff. Um, and but you basically now have rich, apathetic people who have never spent a time with like us, or if they do, they don't care. and this goes into politics and stuff like that. You have power, you have all this stuff. Don't they don't they don't actually go out and talk to their constituents, actually understand. They don't live those lives
Oh,
because
see, I was sorry, Kara.
I was just going to point out it's selfishness, it's power, it's all these things when you come to these bigger companies. One of the things at work, had some issues. I'm not. Yes, I've only been there a few days, but I am not scared to talk out when I see something wrong. But other people, they don't want to say anything because targeted. They don't want to be hated. I'm like, I'm like, well, if I'm to be hated, I'm used to that.
I think there's a confidence in knowing that you've got your own team where you're just like, I've got my people. They know who I am. I don't need much to prove myself to you. No, but I will stand up and say that you are being an idiot or you are doing this and it is wrong. Like I think there's a level of confidence that you have to in yourself to know that you are not defined by what people think of you in the moment when you stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah. And it might backfire. Here's the thing. I might pay for this. I'm used to this. I might pay for this. I might turn everyone against me. That's the reality of it. Not because what I'm saying is wrong. And I'm not being an asshole about it. But the reason is that, again, I'm dealing with a bunch of young people who don't know, like, even our manager. But it's just one of those things that I might have to deal with that, but I'd rather be honest. I don't just want to sit back like in other jobs I've been and just watch people aggravate,
Yeah. I think it mostly comes down to people not liking being challenged.
There's that too.
I think it basically starts from that. People have stopped learning that they will be challenged at some point and that they're going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to come up with arguments to support their side.
See, I really think there is an issue with people communicating. I don't think people talk as much as they used to. One of the things I was going to say a minute ago, when you were just saying about people not having conversations, is obviously you will have all seen something about the Joe Rogan Sanjay Gupta interview that kicked off, and in the sort of blog that Sanjay Gupta wrote afterwards, he wrote a statement in there saying, like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with someone for 3 hours. And I've seen it discussed on various podcasts. And that blew my mind. Because I was like, can you imagine never having held a conversation with someone for 3 hours? I'm like, first of all, more people need a Raz in their life for a start.
Right? A Raz is dangerous, like half a Raz.
Yeah. But they need the idea that there are people out there that haven't actually like that. But to me, I just can't conceive of a world where you could be in your middle age and couldn't say that you've sat down and had a real deep conversation with anyone for more than sort of an hour at any given time. Like, that is shocking to me. But if that's coming from a voice of somebody who is on television on a day-to-day basis, who is a doctor, who talks to people all the time, what does that say for the rest of society?
Yeah.
And how many skills are people lacking in communication if that is the case?
A lot more than we would like to admit. What do you think, Taranach?
I can concur with that. I'm presuming you're talking about Dr. Gupta.
Yeah.
Remarking on his, wow, 3 hours I spent on there. I haven't done something that like, and I'm like, maybe that's part of the problem.
This is exactly it. It's exactly what I mean.
You haven't given enough thought You have these little things that go flittering through your head. Everybody has it. And a lot of times they're silly, crazy ideas that it's like, as soon as they go in, you reject them immediately and you just go on. And I'm wondering whether, the whole short attention span theater that is the internet today, where, oh my gosh, if you can't get across what you need to in 15 seconds, you're done.
Or 240 characters or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like, these tiny little sound bites and stuff like that. And, when you look back at the philosophers and the inventors and stuff, these are all people that took large amounts of time studying various things and figuring them out and
Their
getting to
whole
the point.
lives.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, some of them were overachievers, like freaking Isaac Newton. Gee, I need some kind of math so I can work this out. I'll just invent calculus.
Right.
Yeah. But,
Can, can I put a
I
sadness to
mean,
you guys? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Terry. I have a sadness that's going to go. Go on.
well, and that's what I think is a lot of the problem is we've gotten so far away from actually taking the time to, without distractions, turning off the phones, you know, unplugging the internet or whatever it may happen to be, to like go outside into nature, just as an
Yeah.
example here, and just completely disconnect from the society and the constant barrage of information and just let the brain process. And of course, you get those ones that are like within, 5 minutes, I'm bored. Well, think. Use that gray matter between your ears for something besides a hat rack.
Yep.
And I mean, it definitely has merit. Even though you might hate it, if you get isolated to the point where that's all you can do, that's when you start to notice some of the benefits of being able to just zone out, meditate, as many say, or whatever, to calm the thoughts and give the brain time to actually process stuff rather than um the primitive mind. Okay, back when identifying the difference between a piece of rope and a snake could mean whether you lived or died, snap judgments were critical.
Yeah.
You had to be able to identify, is that shadow, some kind of a predator to kill me, or is that something that I don't need to worry about? And, after a little bit of familiarity, you and by familiarity, it's like with the meditation type thing or with giving your brain time to process it, it doesn't make those snap judgments. It looks at it and says, okay, this is this, this is this. How can I identify this for the next time? And because of that, that primitive response and how fast information keeps flowing in, we're back into that snap judgment of as soon as anything seems different, this is different from my normal environment. That's dangerous. And I think that's a lot of that is going on in our society in general is people aren't even they look at a headline and don't read the news story. They think that the headline is the news story. And
Right.
it's like, no, that's a sensationalized trick to make you buy their newspaper
Yep.
or their magazine or whatever it is. They're trying to make you perform tricks like a circus puppet to get the little treat,
Yep.
the little dopamine hit. And the faster and better you can get those dopamine hits, it's like those people that keep on smoking more and more or taking more drugs or drinking more and more. You're going to get to the point where you're constantly doing it
Yep.
and disconnecting and getting to that point where you actually think about things and ponder them for quite a while is a way of fighting back.
Ah,
Question is, how do we do that?
Well, It's kind of funny what you were talking about there in the whole a common complaint about hanging out with me from quite a few people. I don't hear this complaint as much as, "Man, you make me think too hard."
Oh
That
my
used to be a
gosh.
door that used to be a complaint I would get from people, and now those same people spend hours in a call with me. Um,
I
again,
mean,
what's that?
Hmm.
technically that applies to me, but you always manage to catch me at the worst times for me to
That
think.
that is true. Oh, I try to catch you at better times. Maybe you should message me when you're capable of thinking.
Maybe I should just move over to the over there.
Well, we're working on it. I mean, right here, like if we get this podcast thing going and like really taking off and stuff, maybe we'll get you over here. Maybe I need my own business.
Yep.
And we're gonna get a compound. It'll be great. We're not a cult. Anyway.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Well,
Oh.
to be quite honest, cult is just a con- uh, a shortening of the term of a culture,
Yeah.
and we're not. To a certain extent, we are trying to build a culture, but we're trying
Right.
to build an expansive culture rather than a regressive culture or an
Yeah,
obsessive culture.
yeah, actually one of the things that specifically that I've been going for when I talk to people is my plan like let's face it, a lot of times when you go into stuff like this, people want you to be the way that person wants you to be. Like that's the whole thing of building is like setting it. For me, I'm like, listen, I want you to be the best person that you want to be. I want what I want to be. What you and that's a lot of the things about the stuff I do is focused on. Less about I don't want people to be like me. First, and I might meet people who are like me, but the point is like that's what I want to get back to, where people.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. No, but it's just that's I'm stuck in a '90s mindset a lot of times,
All I could think was, I wouldn't wish being me on anyone.
right?
Like, you know.
And that's why and this is also why I do not encourage people to do what I did. You know, I took the hardest path possible to get that a very lonely existence for a while. You know, like you guys seem to get what I went through now and everything like that, but at the time, I like even Happy can tell you didn't understand what I was going through. He sat there and stuck by me, but he didn't know what I was going at all,
Yeah.
and that was most people I dealt with. You know,
Yeah.
I
like
think it's hard for anyone to relate when you go through any kind of breakdown of any kind, whether it's a self-imposed one or whether it's just an unexpected occurrence that just crops up.
well,
Um,
a big
you
part of it.
know,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it's not an easy thing to go through. You wouldn't wish it on anyone,
Yeah,
but sometimes it is a necessity. And for you, it obviously was, and it's meant great progress.
yeah. Well, the
And
part that I said,
congratulations, by the way. Congratulations on not hating yourself. Proud of you.
I thank you. The biggest compliment I actually got recently, was actually from a friend of mine who's going through his own. He's where I was about 4 years. Very smart guy, everything like that. But he gave me a compliment that hit me a lot harder than I thought it would. But like, listen, after talking to you and seeing how you are and everything like that now, and you're my best friend. But he's like, don't take this the wrong way, but you're younger than I'm 31, you're 34, but I know, but you have energy or whatever you're doing. I know people in their 20s who don't sound like and from him, like, that was a big you know? I'm not gonna cry.
Not
I'm not gonna cry. Um, and I don't you know, there is a thing about being younger in one way, but that was a genuine compliment that he didn't think much of until I started crying. 'Cause
Probably didn't realise it was that much of a compliment. He was just saying it was because it was a genuine, honest response to how he perceives you.
yeah.
And it's you who took that as a compliment. No, he was just saying it as a statement of what he perceived to be fact.
Yeah. I think those are the
Which is
best compliments, right?
yeah, which is probably why it got you so much.
There was a song back in the 60s. Uh, I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. And that's a personification of uh, reconnecting with that youthful energy, spirit, the sense of wonder and exploration that basically just gets driven out of us.
Doesn't it just?
The combination of things like, having to work so that you could feed your face and all the other things. When we were young, we didn't have those worries. It was like there was food and there was this and there was that. And the living in the world in general has a way of you grow up fast.
As a way of fucking you right up. Sorry.
Yep.
Yep.
But you're not wrong. No. Um, and the problem is that people like you grow up fast, but but don't have the maturity or skills. That's why I think we have so many men, you know, today. Even I was no different from that. Just
I would still say that I'm cleverly disguised as a responsible adult.
uh, I, I would say the same. I still haven't reached the maturity I want to be at, but from where I was, fucking a, right? Uh, God. Um,
It's pretty
you know,
bad when you look back at where you were and you go, gee, how the heck could I be like that?
the the funny part is I have the opposite. Again, going back into my oddities, I can't believe I become this person. I can completely believe how I was that way back when I was, but I can't believe who I've become. And a big part
Okay,
of it is I gotta thank you guys for that.
fair enough.
Well, no,
You're
Taranach,
welcome.
do you remember? Taranach, do you not remember when you guys were you and were telling me like I was a pendulum, right? Like mine is way low. I do. I come from a darker place than a lot of people. So
Right.
getting here was very hard. So I have for me, the results speak for themselves, so I have to accept this as reality, right? But I definitely understand how I became like I was back then. I'm just surprised I got to this point. And I'm grateful for it. How could I not be? I mean, how could I've now got Ashley, I've got you guys. I've got the best doggo who stuck through me in my worst time worst time I've ever been. I mean, Happy, you have to understand how much I appreciate Happy because out of everybody here, like Like, when I was burning bridges, I was destroying every. He is that friend who said "fuck you." No, seriously. He sat on a bridge he sat on that burning bridge with s'mores and hot dogs, cooking them up, and we're just sitting in the fire laughing at the chaos.
Yep.
We weren't.
That
This is
is
fun.
exactly how it is.
No. And I couldn't ask for a better friend, right? At the time. Can you guys tell me how many friends you have that would do that? Put up with your nonsense? Like, truly put up with your nonsense.
I've got two. I have put up with a lot of my bullshit for a very long time.
Well, now you have 5 more to add to that list.
Yeah, I've got other friends who have been in and out, but yeah, two that have literally sat there on the burning bridge going, well, this is fun. What next?
What about you, Taranach?
What are we going to do tonight, Brain? Same thing we do every night, Pinky.
Try to fuck
Yeah.
over the world.
That's about it. Yep.
Yep.
But it is very much, that case of after going through life, there are very, very few. We make tons of acquaintances. We make a lot of friends, but the really, really close friends, the ones that you tell your deepest, darkest secrets, those are usually one hand. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get two.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, they're few and far between, and they are such a treasure when you do find the ones that, even when you try to push them away, they're like, yeah, right.
Bitch, I have your address. I will be there in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's about it. And don't try to run because I'll track your damn cell phone down.
It's not even that, isn't it? It's I know all of your hiding places.
Right?
I know that corner you like. Yeah. Yeah, I know about it.
Not only do I know where all your hiding places are, I know where the fucking skeletons are buried.
That's it. Yep. I'll bury them skeletons.
Oh. And again, another thing about, like, again, that with the best friends is, like, you have a special relationship also with people like this. Like I said, me and Happy sometimes go weeks, sometimes a few months without talking to each other, but it doesn't seem like we went a whole year once because he was so busy. But it's like no time passed, you know?
Yep. We just pick up right where we left off.
Like, that's the best friends you can have, in my opinion. And I have, from my past, I have 4, and now I have Ashley, you, and Taranach, because you guys are all the newest additions to my life.
Happy's beer.
And so I have 2 hands now. Yay!
Did you have a hook before?
What Taranach said. You be able to count your closest friends on one
On
hand.
2 hands.
Like it.
Right, okay, yeah, okay, I'm back in the room.
I
was like, what happened to your hand?
I got another really good compliment, by the way, from another one. This is one of the younger guys. That one I was talking about, like, I make him think too hard or like the stuff, but he admitted to me the other day that yeah, no, you become the type of person. I actually went to a few of my friends who have like horrible anxiety and stuff. It's like, hey, I got this guy. I don't know what he's on, but he's got some good shit, and I want you to talk to him. Is there any greater compliment? Honest question.
Not as far as I know.
It usually depends on what kind of shit it is, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's gotta be something that kind of mellows you out and yet makes you think.
It's
And and,
Labrador
and
shit, man. Dog
Well,
shit, man. Um, yeah, no, I mean, debatable. I think that the other thing is, when you get the calls in the weird hours, just need to talk to you.
yeah,
That to me, that's one of the ones that hits home.
yeah,
That's like, of all the phone numbers in the world,
right,
it was mine you rang.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I pretty much keep all of you guys on speed dial when again, you guys came into my life lot later than this. If we were friends like a couple years ago, yeah, I would probably call or message more often. Kind of a needy bitch. Not gonna lie.
I think
Um,
everybody is.
uh, I,
Yeah,
I I run into it less now. It doesn't bother me as much. Like there was just times I just couldn't be alone with my
I
thoughts.
get that. I get that.
Now I'll spend 3 4 days by myself, just constantly thinking. Because my brain doesn't know how to shut up. Turn off. Oh, the sadness that I wanted to talk about. This is actually something really fascinating to me. So, there's a number of the new reaction YouTubing thing that's popped up, right? From a lot of normal people. Have you guys seen, not just the
Yeah.
music like Brad and Lex, but I've talked to a lot of people who had never seen, and I know art is subjective, but this is just kind of fascinating to me. But I know a ton of people who had never seen Lord of the Rings because it
Oh,
was too long.
oh,
Because it was too long.
oh,
How the fuck
oh.
is that too long?
I feel
Right,
personally like wounded.
right. These are the same type of people who will go and watch, who will binge watch. Well, but think of an episode, like even a show that comes out and all 9 episodes are out, right? You can still break
Yeah.
those up. For a lot of people, sitting down and watching Lord of the Rings for 4 hours for
So,
the
but I don't
first
remember
film.
the last time film came out at the cinema that was like 90 minutes.
Yeah, they don't. Well, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just a mindset that has come up for like movies this way, right? 2.5 hours, whatever. Like people did sit down and watch the Snyder cut, which was 4 hours, I think, something like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is you got to remember, Lord of the Rings is 11 hours long if you watch the whole trilogy.
Mm.
Like,
But it's such a good day, snuggled up under
Yeah,
blankets
but
watching
like,
Lord of the Rings.
well, it's actually kind of funny. You have that's what a bunch of these things. People who have seen it have been getting these never seen Lord of the Rings, and part of it I figured out why we like watching them. We're living vicariously of seeing somebody watching it for the first time and reminding you of the things you felt.
Yes. Very definitely that. I mean,
Um,
So
I'm
excited to watch Game of Thrones with my child.
well,
well,
it's
it goes.
like
Oh,
watching
go ahead.
people react to, other movies, not just Lord of the Rings, but like the Aliens franchise or Terminator or all these other
Tombstone.
things. And
Me,
and the reactions to, like Ripley coming out with that powder loader. I mean, the most classic line, stay away from her, you bitch.
Right.
And I mean, that is an iconic line. You know, they may not even know which movie it's from,
yeah.
but they've had that line out of context as memes and other things like that.
Yeah.
And for them that sudden realization of that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Or conversely, it's like, oh, well, is this the original or did they get that from somewhere else? No, this is the original.
Yeah.
And then realizing, that many things that came from the sometimes 60s, but the 70s and 80s, and realizing that, oh, that's that thing that I heard via Guitar Hero, or, I heard that in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, they were mining into the past, and that's where these memes or these ideas keep getting brought forward, is because of that thing, and that it's awesome to be able to relive those memories, as you were saying,
Yeah,
because you know a lot of times when we had those feelings, they were like, well, they were brand new. They were just like, wow, this is
yeah.
really incredible, and they were really great. And being able to recapture even a little part of that feeling is very uh I don't even want to it's a bigger uh it's a bigger dopamine hit than people realize.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, I want to point out though that the whole thing with it is, I think part of it is that we have a love for sharing our culture. One of the things I've talked about a lot with people, why I love them going back in the past and seeing what's happening, is I've talked about this a lot. In the 90s, I mean, Taranach, you would have been what, in your 30s?
Thereabouts.
So in the 90s, if you remember this, like the 90s was basically a celebration of Americana culture, of all the
Hmm.
music and stuff all through, you know, all like I grew up with all the old shows plus the new stuff, like just the Americana culture of music ideals were front and center, and people stopped sharing that. Parents stopped sitting around watching movies, and they only care about the new stuff that comes out. They don't care about, and that's why I like watching these people, because it's like they're they're finding out why these things are only cultural. But like again, it's amazing watching people watch all of Lord of the Rings, and they can't help but cry at the end of it. I did.
How can you not?
Because at 11, and there's I still
You're
believe that
so
there isn't a
attached.
movie. Right? But I also believe there hasn't been a movie that has adequately captured that epic feeling and that closeness character, that connected epic storytelling with the character stuff, right? The character study, the closeness that you get with it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, you can microanalyze that and go all the way back to Tolkien. Like that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
talking in
they did a
general.
fantastic job of capturing it in film. But let's face it, if he hadn't written it to be so brilliantly compelling and so
Oh, I agree with you.
engrossing, then yeah, those are the
But
friendships. The friendships, the characters transcend the platform that it's on.
and it's a story of good and evil. A very simple but complex
It's a
idea.
story of change. It's a story of everything.
Yep.
It's a story of it's a story about life. It's just put in a it's something wonderful about that sort of sci-fi fantasy thing where you take humanity and you put it into creatures that aren't human to almost like make it more obvious. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
our own traits.
yeah,
And there's something else to consider in a very strong way. How many movies, and I mean, I'm not going to go through and try to, specifically list ones, but I'm sure if you think about it for a few minutes, you can think about movies where if you distill it down to major plot points, kind of like boy meets girl, boy falls for girl, boy loses girl, and then boy gets girl like it back again.
yeah.
Okay, that kind of distilled, you'd find that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of movies that fall into that very same thing because that is a readily identifiable trope or truism in a way
Yeah.
that everybody can identify with in one way or another. And things like, what color, whether they're, you know, critters, some kind of anthropomorphic things
Yeah.
or just whatever. I mean, look at B movie or whatever the thing was called. The ones with the
Right.
bees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at those movies, they were, they're insects and stuff, but they played to certain certain of those distilled storylines that are so very appealing and identifiable, and that's why
Right.
people love them. And they had a way of, almost like an Aesop's fable of hiding a truth or a lesson within a story that you're so fully engrossed in everything up until you suddenly realize, "Oh, wait a minute, they snuck a lesson in on me." The old Star Trek, you know, they would go through there and you so thoroughly enjoyed the whole show, and then, you go back and you'd look at it again and you start thinking, and all of a sudden you realize, "Hey, that one episode where, the characters that had half their face painted black and half painted white, well, he's, the colors are on the wrong side, so he's evil." And you suddenly realize that, yeah, they were talking about um the segregation and stuff that was happening at that time period, but in such a way that it was disconnected enough where you enjoyed the story, and only later did you realize, "Oh, wait a minute, there was more to it," because you're sitting there going, What an absurd bullshit. So what if what does it matter if, they're dark on one side and light on the other side? They're still, pretty much the same,
Yep.
and that was the whole point,
Yeah.
was that they were pretty much the same, and that there was no reason to be worried about, something as simple as, markings or colorations,
Yeah.
and that was the whole point of the show. So,
Well, and again, going back into my whole point, that just goes back into the whole point of the loss of, again, the loss of the old, the loss of knowledge. That happens in every generation. Like again, you were talking about this. That's a pretty normal happen, but we're escalated so quickly now. You're talking about all this knowledge you have that'll be lost.
yeah.
You know, um, like it's just one of those things that, and it's hilarious now that we have all this tech and everything like that. Actually, specialization has become, is a big part of that too. You know, you only have like two people who know how this one thing works, and two other people who only knows how this. You get my point? Like what? It's
They don't
it's an
understand the whole, yeah.
yeah. And I think that's human. I think we've gotten to a point also where we're starting to specialize as instead of you know broadening our broadening our horizons as we never stick to one thing. Never, yeah, find something you're good at and do it, but never hold yourself back from right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's definitely something that we lose with time.
Well, it's the another classic, the jack of all trades, master of none.
The
You
master of
become,
one.
and the thing is at least you can go with all of the things. Um, it's a when specialization is for insects. That
Yeah.
was one part of the quote that I was trying to remember, and that's the only part that I can remember for some reason. But um, it was Heinlein that came up with the things that a man should be able to do, and technically it was written to a male perspective, but it was also uh, a manual for humanity, as in everybody should be capable of this, and this. He geared it toward the men specifically because one or two of the things in there were, at the time this was written back in the uh, early or mid 50s, roughly, you know, masculinity was a very uh, harshly defined niche. if you didn't fit into that, then you weren't a man and stuff.
Yeah.
And he came back and said, "No, you don't have to have all these different things in there. You should be diverse. I mean, truly diverse, and know many things about many things. Not being singled out and categorized into only one thing."
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, it's funny. It's like I think about like all a lot of like my favorite heroes, heroic characters, in fiction and stuff like that. Commonly, these characters, like, yes, you have like the hard ass ones from like the '80s action hero, but a lot of them still show compassion, or there's always something for this person than just being the ultra badass, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's kind of what I have been focused. And again, it's that whole thing of being a man. I do think has like a very specific thing for masculine, but that's not necessarily how to. So like for the masculine man and stuff like that, the biggest thing is learning to like shouldn't be holding in all of our emotions, all that stuff of the classic days, right? You just kind of buckle up and why bitch, you know. But I do my job. I do what is necessary. But we shouldn't be trapped in that whole concept, because being a man is doing what is necessary at the time it is necessary. When a problem happens, that's when shut off you shut down those feelings and stuff like that that cause you to hesitate, to fix something. Because
Yeah,
oh good.
I was just that is one of the things that happened in my youth was my brother was stung by a wasp. And I mean, I was just a teenager, and I managed to, zone in on it, go do this, do this, do this. And I mean, the doctor and the police say that I probably maybe not saved my brother's eye, but at least saved him from a hell of a lot worse
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
And, looking back on it, I went through, I did the, certain things in a certain order, partly because, it's something that I had been told, but never in like one cohesive fashion. It's
Right.
like this part here, that part there. But because I had been there, told these things, I was able to make the connections in the right order so that I did things correctly.
Yeah.
And, like I say, I helped save my brother. The funny thing is once the uh, authority figures, you might say, or
Yeah.
somebody to take over for, once those people showed up, yeah, I broke down. I was just bleh, like jello. But during the time that it was like, I need to be focused and I need to do this because it's very, very important. It was like it was written out on pages in front of me, and I just boom, boom, stepped right on through them and did them.
Yep.
And that is part of what is lost today is they don't have that anymore.
No.
They don't have the connections and the ability to make those connections in any kind of a meaningful form to that's why they break down. Somebody says just the wrong thing and is and they just go, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just when this is why people panic and things like that. This is why I tell people to practice stoicism, but don't practice it as like your life. Like, I don't believe any philosophy hardline necessarily. You know that this is
Yeah.
the one thing you should. Um, and again, go back into all my philosophies. I have my religious parts. I have I have Carl Jung and some Freud, and I have the great Greek philosophers. I have quite a few actual Christian philosophers stuff that I recommend, even if you don't believe in, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because they all go back to human nature, and the necessities of what we do, why we and what we're trying to gain for. Because again, isn't that the biggest thing? Is just trying to. I don't believe in a happy life. I believe in a fulfilled life. Happiness is just the outcome of a fulfilled, not the end goal.
Well,
You know?
and going back into some of those philosophers, sometimes you need the downsides, the pain, the whatever it may happen to be, to recognize where the happiness is.
Yeah.
How do you compare it? How do you know that you're happy? Well, because you've been sad, you know how that feels, and this is not sad.
Yeah.
Just like, how do you know that it's light out? Well, I can see things and blah, 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 blah. By having those things, those differences, and being able to differentiate, you appreciate the happiness, the good times and the happiness so much more
Yeah.
when it does arrive.
Right. Oh, I think I also figured out my small tension with and also complacency problem. You also have to recognize when you are in new, you know. There is a state like that because again, I remember when I lost my depression, I just wasn't I wasn't happy,
Right.
but I wasn't unhappy either. There is a neutral state, and that is where I see contentment. And then complacency is worse because there's an arrogance contentment. You know,
Yep.
So it's kind of
um,
like a perpetual meh moment.
this is why I rather not be. I rather I know I live on extreme, but it has generated a lot of growth. And I want to continue. I never want a place where I'm just content. I can be content in my old age, and probably then I wouldn't be. You know, um, because yeah, part of me, I'm okay. I'm okay dying in the future. I understand my mortality. I don't want to. Doesn't mean I don't want to live a long life. You know, especially if I can keep. Especially if I can keep people to people. Especially if I can, myself.
Yep.
That's the reality of it all, and that and I have no reason to fear it. Death is going to be the outcome at the end of my life. But I have a long life to live, hopefully, right?
Hopefully.
Yep.
Well,
I'm gonna live long enough to become a burr in everybody's side.
hey, that is a worthy goal. If anything, I'm gonna live long enough to annoy my children. I love my grandchildren, but I want to be old enough to, to annoy my children.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
already there.
oh, I already annoy my children, um, but no, it's just that is, and like I said, I know I have a lot of growth, but I'm glad to go. I have, I'm going through right now, and I'm glad I found. Oh yeah, I found purpose. This is my purpose. I want to be a mentor. I want to be the positive. I want to be a realistic positive force, not one that's just always positive and everything, but somebody who relay and show and deal with the negative side of things to make people realize that it's okay. Because I have come to one truth that's my own, and I know a lot of people argue, but I don't think just being good has just being is a like just doing good actions in and of themselves has no value without understanding why they're good. Truly and part of that is
It
understanding the bad
is.
side of it. Um,
It is exactly the same thing with apologies.
yeah,
An apology is worth nothing unless you know what you're apologizing for and why.
yeah, and knowing its purpose. Everything I do has to have, everything I do has to have a purpose. This is why you'll never hear, "Why did you do that?" You're never gonna hear, "I don't know." And if you do hear, "I don't know," he's probably gonna be followed with, "Oh, actually, I do know," but it's you know.
I
Yeah, about
once
that.
I once found my porpoise, but the people at SeaWorld kicked me out.
Oh. But
I
yeah.
mean, I only did it for the halibut.
Right, being
Uh,
nearly midnight, is it?
Yep, I was about
yeah.
to
Time
say,
to
yeah,
start. Yeah,
we're
felt like we were coming to the natural point of it then. I was like,
Yeah.
but
everyone's, yeah.
so this was a good night with a lot of discussion and everything like that, and hopefully anyone who listened in, hopefully this has granted them some insight and everything like that. You know, I'll be honest, like I said, I'm grateful to you guys all. Like you've pushed Ashley specifically, things, but meeting you guys pushed me into my own development. But it's time for bed for some people, and it's 7. Real quick, tonight also, if anyone is listening catches this, Ashley will also be doing we started a new show called Razzie Ash's,
Terrible voice ups.
yes, Terrible Voice Dubs, where we take indie and games without voice acting,
And voice act. What we think.
with other horrible comments and stuff like
Yeah. And also idea. Comments our first. Hey, why don't we suggest something for you to voice? Like a different thing. Like, hey, I want this character to have a Cockney accent. And yeah, we're doing it that way. Suggest a character that you want to have a different accent just because. Yes, will terrible. Point of it. Yes, exactly.
that.
Point of it.
Okay. Why are you
Boy,
why are you subjecting me?
One that came up with you.
I know. But why are
You
why are
subjected
you
yourself
subjecting myself to
first.
my own rules? Anyway, but anyways, well, any last thoughts without going into rants?
Um,
I am out.
I was going to say earlier, it was just a quick thought. If you want to spend time with yourself, get a dog. If there's nothing else that forces you to spend a good half an hour with your with your own thoughts every day outside in the fresh air, it is a dog. And it has done wonders for my mental health. I'd recommend it to anyone.
And if you want to destroy your mental health, get a cat.
Yes. I don't know if you heard mine in the background at the beginning of the podcast, but she was literally stood either side of the door, just wailing. And then I'd open the door and she'd come in, and she'd go back to the door and just start meow again. I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, fuck
God.
off, fuck off." So I don't know if you heard that in the background, but if anyone
We
does
didn't.
listen back, and there's
Okay.
just the sound of whining in the background, it's because my fucking cat. So
Okay.
yeah, no cats, no cats.
Okay. Okay, fair
Like,
enough. Taranach?
anyway.
For once, I really don't really have anything to add to it. I mean, most of the things that I could think of to say, I've already said. So
Oh, fair
I
enough.
I mean, the only thing that I guess I could say is that, just like you said, I can say the same thing there, that I'm glad that I met people like you, all of you, because sometimes when you get in sitting in your own head for very long periods of time and stuff, you start wondering whether you're going wackadoodle. And being able to express your thoughts without immediately getting jumped on and such really is a good thing, because you get a chance to actually reflect and analyze your own thoughts and feelings in such a way that you start realizing when things have a universal truth to them, I guess would be the term. And being able to share it forward so that other people may not have to feel as much pain as any of us went through is, part of the purpose.
Learn from our mistakes, kids. That's what he's saying. Uh, yeah. And, like the biggest thing, my final thoughts on that, going with the learning of mistakes, is not saying that you're not going to go through your pains, but we're trying to say learn what learn from us so you're better, you know,
Yes.
so it's not as well world
Intense.
destroying. Yeah, world destroying. Probably right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And trust me, you're gonna have your own world destroying events that you're gonna pass on to others.
I was just about to say, no matter how many intricate stories that we can come up with, all the different ways that life has booty called us over the years, anyone that's listening, it will find its own new, unique way of
Life
sneaking
finds
up on you.
life
Oh, we're
finds a
real.
way.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, we're real creative in creating new and interesting ways to screw ourselves over.
We're the masters of it, right?
yeah. Right. If there's one thing that I can be inspired to do on a daily basis, it's that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. All right. So if you guys really liked this, please subscribe, share us with other people. Um, you know, hit the thumbs up, whatever you feel inclined to do. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for listening. This is the spoken word with Raz, and we're out. Say bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Ta-ra!
Bye.